Well, hello to everyone who has joined us for today's webinar and to folks who are catching up with this webinar by watching its recording. We're grateful that you are a part of the event that we have for you today. And I'm grateful for our guests who I will introduce in just a moment. For some of us, we're doing this at 12 o'clock noon Eastern time, but it is 7 o'clock in the areas in and around Ibilene, Israel. So it makes me extra grateful that our guests are willing to spend part of their Saturday night with us. My name is Peter Henry. I'm a member of the board for Pilgrims of Ibilene. Our calling in life is to help raise up friends and funds for the Mar-a-Lago Educational Institution. We've been doing that since the mid-1990s after an important exchange between two friends, the Reverend Dr. Bruce Rigdon and Father Elias Chacour at the Grosse Pointe Memorial Church in Michigan. Mar-a-Lago Educational Institutions was founded in 1982, and there's a much longer story to that. But ever since 1982, that school has been serving the educational needs of students and families of all faiths and multiple religious traditions, even within some of those faiths. These days, the Mar-a-Lago Educational Institutions educate approximately 2,500 students across grade levels from kindergarten through senior year of high school. Probably the largest Christian school in Israel, although our guests will tell you that's not what makes them important. What does make their ministry incredibly influential, and I would say vital for this moment in time, is that Mar-a-Lago Educational Institutions embraces the diversity of the religious faiths of the region. To give you a sense of what that diversity looks like at even just the Christian level, this last weekend, the chapel at the school hosted weddings that were Baptist and Roman Catholic and Orthodox. But when it comes to the student body in general, 65% of the students there are Muslim. That's a higher percentage than any other school and any other Christian school in Israel. And it's that kind of diversity and an honoring of the particularity of people's faith that is among the strengths and I would say the long-term contributions of Mar-a-Lago to their area. When it comes to our guests who are here on behalf of Mar-a-Lago, we're blessed to welcome Father Elias Chacour, Abuna Elias Chacour to many. He is the founder of the school. We might call him the board president emeritus, or I imagine there are a variety of titles. Grateful for him. Sitting next to him is Nawar Mussallam. She is a member of the Amutah. We would call that a school board in the United States. And while she's a formal member of the board, she's been involved in the doings of the school for decades now. She knows it probably about as well as Abuna does. We're also joined by
Maybe
Dr.
better.
Emil Haloun. We're joined by Dr. Emil Haloun, who is a former English teacher at the school. He's a special assistant to Abuna. He's a liaison on behalf of Mar-a-Lago to the wider world. He commutes among several different cities. I'm still not even really sure where he lives right now, but wherever he lives, he is very involved in the ongoing development and relationships of Mar-a-Lago beyond just Ibilene. And then finally, our other guest is Victor Rohana, who started, I think, over 17 years ago with the lower school, eventually becoming head of the middle school. And he's now been with the high school for 3 years. And among the strengths that he brings to his work as the vice principal of
Don't
the high
hear you.
school is the knowledge of all of these families who've come up into the
Your
high
voice
school.
disappeared.
Uh-oh, Abuna.
Okay.
Esraya, can you hear me though? Okay. I'm going to keep talking and hopefully Abuna will be able
Your
to
voice
figure out.
disappeared. We did not hear the last sentences.
Okay, well, I was simply complimenting Victor and then was going to introduce Esraya, who is our technological host for today. She's also the executive director of Pilgrims of Ibilene and the one who's primarily organized us today. So thank you, Esraya. But you didn't come to hear me do any more introductions. You came to hear from our guests who are engaged and educated in nurturing children and families at a very difficult time in the history of Israel and for Palestinians who struggle daily for their presence in that part of the world, whose schools struggle daily with, or at least regularly with budget cuts from the national government, that are among the ways in which our Palestinian siblings feel more and more marginalized, even in their homeland. And so we are hoping today that Abuna and our other guests can share what it means to do the work of education and nurture during these challenging times, being honest about the difficulties they face, but hopefully also sharing ways in which they've
Your
risen to the
voice
challenge,
disappeared.
and that they are making a difference. So Abuna, we turn to you if you're able to share with us about ongoing challenges and ways in which you all are meeting those challenges.
Yeah. Well, we are living in a very complex society. We are Palestinians, Israeli citizens. We are Christians. Our roots in Christianity goes back to the 12 apostles who all were from Galilee, and the 120 persons the day of the Pentecost were all from Galilee. We feel in our bones that we are their children, their nephews, and we feel that we have the responsibility to continue surviving with this message of the Sermon on the Mount. As I told our students, high students, when I spoke with them all on Monday morning, I tell them our motto, our flag has to be raised up. And it is very simple. It will be refused by the radical Muslims and by the radical Jews. Our flag is love your enemy, bless those who persecute you, and pray for those who annoy you. This is our responsibility, to be ministers of reconciliation. We don't want to reconcile Americans or Europeans. We are too busy reconciling our own people together, helping them to be a sign of hope amidst this very horrible war that is still going on in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, everywhere. And we don't know what the end will be. We know that the politician speech is always about vengeance, about overcoming, about might, about weapons. We want to introduce another language that many Jewish leaders have forgotten. Many Muslims did not use them. The language of reconciliation, of sharing the land together, because it's sure that Jews want to assert that the land belongs to them, while the Palestinians say we have been out for 1948 from our Palestine. We want it back, it belongs to us. I have the courage to declare that the land does not belong and cannot belong to the Jews alone. It does not belong to the Palestinians alone. Palestinians and Jews have the important task to learn how they should belong to the land. After all, we are all sojourners. We are going away. We are leaving this land. We are going towards another life that does not comprise land, power, military, and might. It is very important that we survive this difficult situation now, where the war has been very cruel in Gaza and in Lebanon. And the bill for the war, we citizens in Israel, we Palestinians in Israel have to pay the bill for that. That's why there are drastic cuts in what we received as subsidy for our students. Before the war, we were receiving 75% of what Jewish children receive. Although we are citizens, we pay our taxes, we do our duty, we do everything a citizen should do, and we are peaceful people. But since the war, the several cuts came out that we have only 34% of that subsidy. It is impossible to run the school with that small amount of money. That's why we rely a little bit on you, Pilgrims of Abilene. We don't rely on you to solve our problems, but to share with us solving the problem. and we are very grateful mainly for your prayer. Please do not forget that prayers have a special power, a supernatural power. It has a power to keep us hoping, to keep us being ambassador of reconciliation. Our alumni are now 10,840 students. They comprise so many key persons in the society. 580 medical doctors graduated from the school. The Episcopalian Archbishop of Jerusalem is an old student in the school. We have so many alumni who form key positions in the society, mayors or member of the mayor board. We rely on them to spread the message of Elias. And we understand that it is also somehow our responsibility to reflect what you expect from us and to help our students understand that your friendship for us means that you want us to be ambassadors of reconciliation. And we want to do that. We love the Jews. We don't like what they do to us. It's most horrible. But we don't hate them. We want them to consider us as their brothers. Otherwise, they cannot pretend being people of God. They can be people of Trump, people of weapons, of might, but they cannot be people of God if they don't accept us as their brothers. And we love them. We want them to survive, but we want also not to be killed. Thank you.
Thank you, Abuna, for sharing. And I am always struck
We don't hear you,
by
Peter. You're so modest.
Yeah, so I'm just going to talk for everybody else and just say I'm always struck by the reminder of how little Mar Elias receives in subsidies compared to their Jewish counterparts.
don't hear
And
him.
I'm always struck by the number of the
You hear
alumni,
us,
11,000, almost 11,000 alumni,
but we don't hear
including
your
500,
voice either.
yeah, including almost 500 medical alumni, medical doctors. That is truly amazing. We'll be able to come back to Abuna in a little bit, but I want to turn for a moment then to Victor
hear us
Rohana
now?
because
Yes.
Victor
Peter,
is the vice principal at the high school.
I
While Abuna
if
in
I can't
the
talk in if I can't talk in Arabic, I want to tell a serious important thing about what Sayyidina say, but it's for easy for me to give you the
communicating
message
now.
in Arabic. I can, Sayyidina.
yes.
It's impossible. Emil,
Yeah, I can. I'm willing to translate.
Put us on mute.
سيدنا سمعني؟
No.
Yeah, Victor, you can go ahead.
He's not here. سيدنا
Go ahead, Emil. Go ahead, Victor.
Victor اتفضل. سيدنا بسمعك بعدين.
just امبارح انا كنت مدعو عن طريق مار الياس في اجتماع لمدارس كل المدارس المسيحية في البلاد.
I've been invited yesterday to a special meeting in Nazareth where all Christian schools convened and assembled.
الاشي المميز اللي كان انه انا التقيت غاد مع البطرك مع كل المطارني الخوارني، لكن ولا واحد منهم هو اللي بنى المدرسة زي الحظ اللي احنا موجودين فيه، انه احنا موجودين مع انسان اللي بنى مدرسة، بنى صرح مش استلم.
Okay, so yesterday I met during that meeting so many principals, so many priests that manage and direct schools, but the common among all of them that no one among those I met have funded that school that he's directed. Unlike Abuna, unlike Father Chacour, who has founded a school and he's still there supervising the school from afar.
الإشي
تفضل.
اللي
Go on.
الإشي اللي بدي أقوله هو المهم إنه معظم المدارس اللي سألت عليها بيتر، المدارس الأهلية المسيحية موجودة في سوسيو ايكونومي كتير عالي. مدرستنا موجودة في نقطة اللي القرى اللي حواليها من ناحية اقتصادية جدا ضعيفة، وبتشمل طلاب، عدد طلاب بكتير أكبر من باقي المدارس.
Let me translate. He says that what we consider that all the other schools around us have a better economic background, but our schools being from 23 different towns and villages, the economic situation of the people are rather low. Yes, كمل.
والإشي المهم سيدنا اللي بدي أقوله، أنا سوري إنه عم بحكي في العربي، بدي أكون أعمق في الحديث من الهاي.
No.
اللي بدي أقوله إيش معلم نوار؟ فالإشي اللي بدي أقوله سيدنا لبيتر ولإسريا، إنه دولة إسرائيل اليوم عم تبني في كل بلد مدرسة، وعم بتحط كل قوتها من ناحية اقتصادية في هاي البلد. والمدرسة فقط لمكان السكنة، إذا كان في القرى، إذا كان في المدن العربية أو المدن اليهودية، حتى ما يكون هناك مدرسة جامعة لكل أبناء الشعب الواحد زي مدرستنا اللي فيها عدة ثقافات.
كافي. What I want to say to Esri and to Peter is that the Israeli government now is very keen to have a school in every small location and to prevent any possibility of a comprehensive school like ours that we have from 23,000 villages. They don't want to have connections with each other. And we want to create a relation of friendship with different communities.
والفرصة الذهبية في مار الياس، بغض النظر شو الديانات وقديش عددها ومين أعلى من مين، إحنا هدفنا أكبر من هيك. هدفنا إنه كل طالب يكون سفير للهوية المسيحية وللنور المسيحي اللي إحنا بنعطيه في المدرسة من جيل صغير لجيل كبير.
Our main target in Mar Elias, different from all other schools, we want our students to keep the message of peace, of reconciliation spread around them in their society.
مدرستنا مار الياس بقولها أنا في كل قوة، اليوم بحاجة في ظل الأوضاع الموجودين فيها في البلاد، بحاجة لذكاء جدا كبير لإيصال الرسالة اللي هي فوق حزبية، فوق فئوية، فوق مذهبية، وفوق طائفية، إنما بنتجلى إحنا في الإنسانية، وهذا موجود عندنا، وهذا عملة نادر اليوم في هاي البلاد.
Our school needs a very strong wisdom to continue being above denominational, above religious considerations, but considering the human being as the major value we have.
وحتى لو كان عددنا إحنا كمسيحيين قليل، لكن إحنا لسنا بالعدد، إنما في القيمة الموجودة عند الفرد الواحد ممكن تغذي مجتمع بالكامل.
Although we Christians are a minority, our mission, our responsibility is far beyond the importance of our number.
والإشي اللي بدي أقوله سيدنا الله يطول في عمرك، امبارح أنا كنت حاسس في قوة رهيبة إنه إحنا موجودين تحت جناحك، ولكن أنت قلت قبل شوي إنه الأعمار بإيد الله، وأنت عم تشتغل إنه المدرسة تستمر لوقت جدا طويل. أنا بفكر إنه إحنا بعدنا ما وصلناش إنه إحنا نقدر نعيش بدونك في المدرسة، وهاي الأجانب لازم يعرفوها. لحتى إحنا نقدر نعيش في قوة في المدرسة، لازم إحنا في هاي الفترة نتأسس صح ونبني علاقة معن كتير قوية، حتى اللي موجود هون يعرف إنه إحنا مدعومين ولسنا بحاجة إلى أي إنسان من الداخل.
Victor says he was overwhelmed yesterday with the feeling that the school cannot continue unless, I'm sorry, he says, unless under my wings. And I said to them, I am on the gates of eternity. I'm ready to go. But we need, he said, we need to be strengthened with our relations with you over there, between you and us, to be able to continue the message that Abuna has given us. It's not my message, it's the message of the Lord Jesus Christ. Yeah.
العلاقة اللي موجودة مع اللي بناها سيدنا، احنا بحاجة انه نثبتها معاكم بشكل جدا قوي، لانه المحيطين فينا عم بيستنوا اللحظة اللي يحسوا انه احنا فيها ضعاف، واحنا بدناش نكون ضعاف. احنا نكمل المسير اللي بداها سيدنا في المحبة، في النور، في التواصل الصح مع المجتمع ومع العالم بشكل خاص.
We need to strengthen the relation that Abuna has built with you in order to be able to continue spreading our message of love, of brotherhood, of forgiveness, and of reconciliation.
وضع المدارس وبحكي لك انا سيدنا من منطلق، كنت بتعرف انه انا مش بس عايش في مار الياس، وانما عايش كمان في السياسه المحليه وبعيش الاحداث اللي عم بتكون في البلاد. هذا بعطيني قوه انه انا اجي حاضر للمدرسه، يكون عندي شو اعطي الاولاد وشو اعطي المعلمين. فانا بقول مدارسنا كلها في خطر، واحنا بدنا نحاول نبعد الخطر عن مار الياس قديش ممكن، في تخطيط اللي هو عصري، في تخطيط اللي هو جديد، في تخطيط اللي هو ثابت لتقنية حومش او ل10 سنين لقدام اللي نقدر نجتاز هاي الفترة اللئيمة.
He addressed himself to me saying, you know that I'm involved in the political situation in our villages, in our society. And I know that what you have done is so important. We don't want to disappear with your going away. We want it to be strengthened and founded on strong foundation. And for that, we need to continue this relation with you that would be over the life of an individual.
واهم نقطة اللي بدي احكي عليها، اللي حكيت عليها في البداية، هي المدرسة الابتدائية. وبدي اثبت كلامك، بدون المدرسة الابتدائية سيدنا مع الاسف الشديد لا يوجد مدرسة ثانوية. احنا بنكون عم نحلم اذا المدرسة الثانوية ممكن تاخذ طلاب من باقي البلاد بظل التحديات الموجودة. فالتحضير للمدرسة الثانوية وفقط اعتمادا على نجاح وبقاء المدارس الابتدائية.
He says that to come back to what you said, Abuna, if the elementary school would disappear, then the high school will not exist, because the high school, the elementary school has children from 23 villages, and they feed the high school after finishing. And if they don't, if the elementary school does not exist, then goodbye the high school as well.
وانا اذا بتيجي بتسالني شو الحلم تبعي في مار الياس، باجي بقول لك انه الاولاد، بما انه انا اشتغلت في هذيك المرحله، الاولاد احنا بنقدر نغذيهن ونمسكهن ونعطيهن معلومات ومواد وهن صغار اكثر بكثير من وهن كبار. فلذلك انا حسب رايي الاموال الموجوده في الثانويه لازم قسم منها يستثمر في بناء الطالب في الابتدائيه بشكل جدا كبير، حتى نقدر ننجح ونوصل للاستحقاق المطلوب.
And my dream is, as you know, Abuna, is that in the elementary school, we can influence the children and give them the values in which we believe, and they will keep that for themselves when they go to the high school. In the high school, we can't give anything new for them. That's why the excess of money, the surplus of money in the high school should go to help the elementary school to survive.
واخر شغله بدي احكيها، اهتمامات الطلاب في جيل كبير هي تختلف عن اهتمامات الطلاب في جيل صغير، والاهالي
هذا
بتكون في الجيل الصغير ماسكه الابناء اكبر. وهي فرصه ذهبيه لنا انه احنا نستثمر فيهن قدر الامكان من اللغات، من المعلومات، من التعليم.
And the last thing I want to say, that we can invest much more in the children while they are in the elementary school than when they go to the high school. And this is encourages us to use the power of the parents and our own power to influence the children and to get them ready for the future.
and آخر شغلة اللي بدي أقولها إنه لسه أنت يمكن تزعل مني، كل الهيبة والجمال اللي موجود في مؤسسات مار الياس هو موجود فوق. احنا بحاجة تحت كمان انه يكون في عنا جو ومناخ تعليمي اللي يكون مرتب يعطي هيبة للمكان، حتى المكان هو يفرض حاله على الطالب والمعلم.
What I will say might not agree with what you think, Abuna, but the investment we have in the high school is much more than what we need to invest in the elementary school. It is there that we have to invest as a foundation for the future in the high school. I'm not angry with you.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you two talk about that offline. Emil Haloun, I want to make sure we get a chance to hear a little bit from you about some of the challenges and also perhaps some of the things you've seen as times when the school's been able to meet those challenges. But you've got a unique perspective as someone who's traveling and engaged beyond just Mar Elias. So take it away.
Thank you, Peter. I'll talk briefly about the miracle of the institutions of Mar Elias, especially in those times. I have been teaching students from all ages, and I have seen how different and unique the graduates of Mar Elias are in the climate of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The students of Mar Elias have wider perception. They accept the other in a very natural, normative way. They have much more awareness about what is going on, unlike the people who go to college, those I'm teaching, and have no idea that there's a Christian minority even in Galilee. So I'm just exemplifying for you how much marginalized we are, and even more in light of all the things that happened recently. And why I'm mentioning the latest events, because the media never tells our story. And that's exactly what we are doing at the Mar Elias Education Institutions. We are creating a new human being, and it's far from being a cliche. It's far from being a motto. It's far from being a story to be told. It's a reality de facto, that we are really proud of our students. We are really proud of our graduates. We have just shared in the latest newsletter of Pilgrims of Abilene the story of Rohana Abahjul. She's Muslim, female student who commuted on a daily basis since the kindergarten to the senior level from Schwammer, and she has been encouraged and motivated to go to volunteer in Africa, influenced not only by the amazing education she received at home, but also by the wider international perceptions she received at during her years at Mar Elias. So I'm saying here, we need your friendship. We need to strengthen the bond between the so many friends are waiting to hear our story in the States and this miracles minority in Galilee called the Christian community. I believe we have so much to contribute to the peace, to the conflict resolution, to the new Middle East that we have been hearing lately. A new Middle East cannot be accomplished without the Christian population. The Syrians, the Christian Syrians are vanishing. Lebanese likewise. The Christian community in Galilee is dwindling. And how is this connected to Mar Elias? We're keeping the Christian community. Abuna has done a miracle by providing a job to so many locals from Abilene and from Galilee who commute on a daily basis to go and teach in Abilene, to their kids, to their families. This is a miracle. And sustaining this institution is sustaining the Christian community in Galilee. I'll end here, but I'd like to invite you all to come and visit us, also in the post-war era, to see how much influence and how much impact we could have.
Well,
Thank
Emil,
you,
let me say two things, and then I've got a question for you. In some ways, you and Victor both set up well for me to say something now that I'm going to say at the end too. When it comes to pilgrims being able to support Meyer Elias, right now we have some generous donors who have offered up to $100,000 to match gifts from other people. And I'm hoping that if any of the folks on the webinar haven't yet made a gift to Pilgrims of Ibeline this year, that they'll make that financial gift because it'll be matched. And that we'll receive up to an extra $100,000 because of these generous donors. And I also wanted to mention we have a pilgrimage that will include a trip to Mar Elias, will include time with Abuna in the area around the Galilee as people spend some time engaging with the stories of and by Jesus. There's information about both that matching appeal and that pilgrimage at pilgrimsofibeline.org. So thank you for setting me up for that, even though you didn't know you were going to do that. But I wanted to put you on the spot for a moment. I appreciate your good news stories, really powerful. But you were also starting to say something before we began the webinar when it comes to the challenge of continuing relationships with people outside of Israel. You were talking about some of the present challenges. Would you share with the webinar about that?
Yeah, gladly. So, and here I would like to mention your name, Peter, because 10 years ago you hosted us at Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and that was part of an exchange program where we visited so many families and friends who are affiliated with Pilgrims of Ibeline. So during the past 15 years, I have been accompanying so many students to various countries, to name a few: Italy, Germany, Northern Ireland, and other places and Canada, of course, which we visited several times. But nowadays, the international community, and especially those friends with whom we still have strong bonds, are very much scared to come and visit us. So whenever I'm trying to initiate a project of an exchange program that would contribute so much to our students by providing them a perception that the world is not limited to Galilee, is not limited to the problematic reality we live in. The world is a wider place, and there are so many good friends in the States who like us, who support our story and our reality. But nowadays, I find it difficult to create these projects because people, and I could understand that very well, are afraid. But what would be the implications? The implications are very dangerous because we will stay bubbled. We will stay within our reality, not extending our reports and not delivering our stories to people in the world. So hopefully to overcome these challenges, hopefully peace will prevail, and hopefully to see the resurrection forthcoming.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm really grateful to hear it. And again, that's part of the reason I'm grateful for the pilgrimage that we're going to be having in April. I think those face-to-face engagements are one of the most important things that we can do. And I know that members of Grosse Pointe Memorial Church continue to be thankful for you and your students who came now, as you said, probably about 10 years ago. So I'm glad you continue that ministry. We have one other guest here who sometimes is a little less known to members of the Pilgrims of Ibeline community, but her role has been very important through the years. All of us who've ever heard about Ibeline always hear about Nawar, right on the heels of hearing about Father Elias Chacour. And Nawar is a member of the school board and as someone who's been involved for decades. What are some things that you see in the present day or things of recent history that you would want us to know about the school, its challenges, its successes, because you have a unique view and we'd love to hear from you.
ما بعرف ترجم لي شو بتقول لي.
يا شو مشاهير المستقبل.
مشاريع المستقبل
أو إذا بتقدر تحكي شيء تاريخي عن الشركة عن الشركة مدرسة عن نجاحاتها.
بدي أحكي عن المدرسة الابتدائية.
I want to speak about the elementary school.
أنا كنت أعلم مدرسة حكومية وتقاعدت كثير
I was teaching in a governmental school
30
and
سنة.
I retired for 30 years and I retired early.
فكرت مع سيدنا مع أبونا إنه نبني مدرسة ابتدائية لأنه ما كان في مدرسة ابتدائية، في روضة وفي ثانوية.
And I shared the thoughts with Abuna to open an elementary school that did not exist. There was kindergarten and high school.
فخططنا إنه نعمر مدرسة ابتدائية.
We planned to build an elementary school.
تعمرت في البداية ما في مدرسة، فكرنا بمدرسة ابتدائية ولكن فيش عمار، فيش بناء، فيش
There was nowhere to place the elementary school.
فبالروضة في بلكوني، أنا عارف شو في بدنا نقول، شو البلكوني؟
In one of the buildings, we had a balcony inside the building.
فبلشنا حطينا صف أول، بدينا بمدرسة ابتدائية بصف أول ب 18 طالب.
We placed the elementary school. We had only 18 children.
بعدين انتقلنا للمدرسة الثانوية.
Meanwhile, Abuna transferred us to the high school
في الملاجئ
in the shelter.
ما فيش غرف.
No room.
وبعدين انتقلنا للهندسيين.
After that, we were transferred to the building of the engineering
حتى تعمرت المدرسة.
until the elementary school was built.
والمدرسة بديت ب 18 طالب وتركتها أكثر من 1000 طالب.
I was the principal of that school. We started with 18 children, and when I retired from being the director, I left the school with 1,150 children.
فبيجي على المدرسة من 30 قرية، والزعلان أكثر من الراضي، كثير ناس بدها تيجي تتعلم.
will come children from 30 villages who register, and those who cannot be registered because they came a little bit too late are many.
إذا بدنا نستقبل طلاب بنستقبل أكثر من 2000-3000 طالب لهي المدرسة بسبب نجاحها.
If we would agree to register children, we register 2,000 or 3,000 children because of the success of the school.
أنا تركتها سنة 2014.
I left it in 1914.
والمدير
2014.
وأنا اخترت المدير مين يكون بعدي.
And I choose the director who will succeed me.
وهي ناجحة أكثر مني.
And she is more successful than I was.
طيب المشكلة الكبيرة بالمدرسة هي الحالة المادية الاقتصادية.
The big problem for the school is the economic situation.
بحاجة الحكومة بتدعمش المدارس الكنسية، بتدفع 38% فقط. هي بتقول بتدفع 70% بس مش مزبوط، بتدفع 38%.
The government has to subsidize the school because education for citizens is compulsory, and they give us only 38% of what they give to Jewish children, to governmental school.
عندنا معاشات لحالها ناقص 2,000,000 شيكل معاشات لحالها بالسنة، غير الكهرباء، غير الماء، غير باقي المواد، مختبرات.
Not including the expensive electricity of laboratory, of secretaries, of guardians. We have a deficit of over 2 million a year.
الوضع كتير صعب.
And those are shekels, right?
Very difficult.
Okay.
اليوم كل شهر باخذ ناقص 600,000 شيكل معاشات.
every month I have to pay salaries with a deficit of 600,000 shekel. That's almost $200,000.
وإذا المدرسة الابتدائية بتسكر طبعا الثانوية رح تسكر.
And it's sure that if the elementary school would be closed, then the high school will close also.
إحنا بمشكلة كتير صعبة.
We are facing a very complex situation.
So I thank you for being willing to
Don't hear
share,
you,
Nawar.
Peter. You are so modest.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do if y'all can't hear me. I'm gonna thank Nawar even if she can't hear me, and note that she was the originator of the idea of the elementary school and a principal, and I did not know that and should have given you credit. And maybe in addition to Mariam Bawardi, maybe the school might also be named for Nawar Mussallam as well at some point in time, given that history. I wanted to have a moderatorial privilege and ask at least one question for any of our folks to answer. And then maybe Rhea might be able to share questions from people who are on the call. Obviously, everybody is aware of the last several years in terms of the war on Gaza, the rise in violence in the West Bank. And obviously, we've heard that this has impacted people. Would love to hear a little bit more about the impact of the war and this increase in violence on the students and families from our Elias. And what are some ways in which the school has tried to help those students and families as they deal with the impact of the war? And I realize students from 23 different villages is a lot of students from different locales, but perhaps you might be able to speak to what seem to be some common difficulties or experiences of the war and ways the school has helped. And then I'll leave it there.
Okay, I will begin by saying that as I always call it, it's the post-war era. But we're still in it. We're still in it because the conflict has not really ended. Mistakenly, people think that the conflict has been resolved, and the whoever depicted as like the 2000 years conflict has been resolved. No, it's not. We live in a different reality. We live in the same reality, more or less. And I can tell you with much confidence that the impact on students is mostly psychological, because students are traumatized by sirens, by rockets, by casualties, especially those who come from Tamra. This is one town that students come from. Tomorrow, Elias, people were killed there several times, and more than 10 people were killed there because of as a result of the rockets. People don't have shelters, so they couldn't hide. They couldn't find a refuge in the proper time. And this also illustrates the poor infrastructure that the Arab community lives in. I can tell you as well that the high school and the elementary school, and Victor can add, I'll translate to him the questions properly, are doing their best to give some sort of resilience, a spirit of resilience through extracurricular activities, whether it is in a sports day, trips, which have been approved eventually, because trips were not approved by the Ministry of Education. And of course, students who didn't go on trip, didn't convene, didn't assemble. So there is a parallel between COVID and the war. I could see that. Students studied on Zoom. They were very much isolated, but the impact of war is way more severe than that of COVID. We can see it, and unfortunately, we will see the negative impact of war also in the years to come. But school is dealing with so many layers of challenges. Let the financial one, let the poor infrastructure, let the poor resources that we can provide to our students. But luckily, I would say that we have been blessed with an amazing staff, both at the junior high, the elementary school, the high school, and they're doing their best. And I'd like Victor also to speak about that if possible. فيكتور سألك بيتر شو عم تعملوا على أساس الطلاب تساعدوهم من بعد الحرب؟ يا ريت تحكي باختصار تجاوب هذا السؤال دكتور. سامعني؟
بعد الحرب أول إشي إحنا هاي السنة الأولى اللي بنفوت فيها هيك بشكل وتيري عالي 1/9 لليوم بتعليم متواصل. ليش؟ لأنه قبل سنوات ومع الكورونا ولا السنة كان فيها تواصل مع الأولاد بهذا الشكل، فبنحس بالفعل إنه الأولاد كتير
So
مضغوطين.
yeah, Victor, يا ريت أترجم. Unlike past years, we commenced the scholastic year September 1st, and since that day, thankfully, we were teaching the students continuously. And this is not to be taken from.
استغلينا احنا هدول الشهرين اللي هن مفروض كمان نقعد فيها المدرسة زي ما لازم، بس ما خفناش. طلعنا كتير رحل، طلعنا رحل بياتي لشريحتين ونجحوا بشكل كبير.
So we took advantage of that continuous period of learning, especially in the past 2 months. All students went on trips, including longer trips for 2 to up to 3 days.
عملنا ايامات رياضيه اللي هي كمان نطلع الاولاد من جو التعليم بشكل او باخر، حتى هن كمان يعيشوا الاجواء المدرسيه خارج اطار المدرسي.
So we also held extracurricular activities such as sports days. We wanted students to experience the school in a different form.
أعطينا الطلاب التواني 10 لقاء سريع مع الخريجين، وهي نقطة لازم نحكي فيها مهمة مع سيدنا، لأنه هذا الحلم تبعه كل الوقت إنه الخريجين بيقدروا يساعدوا في المدرسة، وأعطينا هيك أمل إنه أولاد مار الياس اللي تعلموا هون في وقت الكورونا هن لسه عم بنجحوا. كم بالحري أنتم.
Okay, so Victor is also mentioning an important event that took place at the high school. There was a special encounter between all senior classes and selected graduates of Mar Elias. Victor is saying that this has proven for the students that even though those students studied during challenging times such as COVID, they succeeded in graduating, and also they succeeded in pursuing academic degrees. And now they are successful, they have jobs, and they are pleased with their lives despite everything.
وبعد السنة في أولها فإحنا بنتأمل إنه المشاريع القادمة استعملنا تقنية برنامج لدوكاتي اللي فيه كتير كمان فعاليات للتفريغ عند الطلاب، وإعطائهم كمان برامج دعم في الرياضيات وفي هاي الدورات اللي راح تكون مكثفة في هاي الفترة إن الله راد.
So Victor is saying that we're still in the first semester, and we are hoping and we're opting to have more activities, additional activities, especially in enhancing students in terms of materials related to math, for example, because students have also some gaps. They have accumulated some gaps because of the war. So we are hoping to comply with all the demands so that they can succeed in all matriculations exams as should.
واخر شغله اللي احنا عم نعطين تكافي عليها يوميا اللي بتتطلب منا جهود كبيره، اللي هو دوري في كره القدم. الطلاب وخاصه الشباب عم بيلعبوا وبنبسطوا، بيعرضوا حالهم وبيثبتوا حالهم انه في عندهم مهارات كمان غير التعليم. وعدا عن ذلك المسارح احنا عملنا لحد هسه 3 مسرحيات وكان فيها طلاب كثير تاثروا منها، فهاي كله تفريغ للطاقات.
Okay, and Victor is saying also on the level of everydayness, in each doing some sorts of competitions, football competitions, sports competitions among all students. We also had 3 different plays at the auditorium. So students went there and experienced what theater means. And this has also been relieving for all of them.
Thank you for that. And Asraya, I didn't know if there are other questions that any folks attending the webinar have put to you that you want to share. I, of course, have a couple extras if they're needed, but I don't want to hog the questioning.
I do actually have a question from Ross, and he is wondering if Mar Elias has a connection or works with other Christian schools, either in the United States or elsewhere around the world, do you have any, kind of exchange or partnerships with other Christian schools?
Emil.
So we have really a nice special bond with the Mennonite community in Winnipeg, Canada. I visited first Winnipeg in 2012. That was in February, the most freezing month ever, something which we have never experienced. And since then, we maintained that friendship. As I mentioned, the students from Winnipeg were supposed to visit us in June. They were very courageous, so they stopped in Jordan, but then in Jordan, the unexpected for them happened. The war between Israel and Iran escalated back then, and they were in the midst of those two rival countries. They escaped kind of to Egypt, and from there they flew back to Winnipeg. The students, of course, have been traumatized by all what they have experienced. It's something that North Americans are unfamiliar with, and luckily and thankfully, when we want to exemplify what war feels like, we can never do that. And when I tell my cousin who lives in Boston that there's a siren and they have to go to the shelter, she can never grasp that unless she experienced that. So the Canadian students somehow, unfortunately, experience that. We have also great rapport with two schools in Northern Ireland, with one Catholic school in Germany, 3 Catholic schools in Italy, and we truly hope to revive these relations. But we're always happy to hear about new initiatives, new opportunities through which we could strengthen and enhance our mission.
I must also add, we used to have children from Pilgrim Babylon come from Grosse Pointe or from California to stay with us for 1 whole week working, and they go to the Jerusalem for 1 other week touring. That could be renewed, and we are ready to welcome your children amidst us.
And Esra, any other questions from folks on the webinar?
No other questions at the moment.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask a question that's kind of a build on from my general question about impacts of the war on Gaza and violence in the West Bank, and that is how have the last couple of years impacted opportunities or willingness of Jewish schools and students and teachers to be connected to Mar Elias, because I know Mar Elias has this emphasis on reconciliation and peacemaking. Certainly with the diversity of the student population there, it's a chance to spread that out to those 23 villages and communities. But it's obviously there's another constituency in Israel, and that's those who are of the Jewish faith. What impact of the last couple of years on those relationships of Mar Elias with Jewish schools, students, communities?
I think it had a great impact because the Jews are geared with the war in Gaza, and they show enthusiasm about what the army is doing, and that influenced them to stop their relations with us Arabs in Israel. We're in a very, very difficult situation where we are Palestinians. We have nothing to do with Hamas. We are Israeli. We have nothing to do with the Israeli government. And that puts us in a very difficult situation. Now we have to start again. We used to have many relations with Jewish schools. We used to organize musical concerts in the church. Once we had over 1,200 people, half of them were Jews, and they are welcome. Now the Jews are starting to come back. Some Jewish groups come back mainly to visit the church because it's very beautiful, it's unique. and to have a meeting with me or with our teachers. What I want to say is that in the past, people were inclined to tell me that your project is a one-man effort, one-man project. I think today you've seen it's no one-man effort. It's a group effort. It's a community effort. I don't need to tell you what the people think. They think and they say to you what they feel about the school. It's a community, a group that builds the school, that cares for the school, that keeps the school running with its original vision.
And thank you for that reminder, Abuna, because as you noted, for you at Mar Elias, it's not a one-man show, it's a community. And the same is true for Pilgrims of Ibilene. While we have an executive director and while she has one support staff member, the reality is there's not just a board behind them, but there's a whole cadre of people who make pilgrims possible, from both financial gifts to gifts of time to people who come on pilgrimages. And we are grateful on our end for that community and grateful for the connections that we have to you and to all the people at Mar Elias and beyond. And I want to say on behalf of the community on this side of the Atlantic, thank you. I've been involved for a few years and continue to learn every time I engage with you and Emil and Victor and Nawar. For instance, today, it had never occurred to me that when we think about the Palestinian Christian minority in Israel, and a lot of Americans don't know that when they talk about Christians in Israel, they're talking about Palestinians. I don't know who they're thinking of, but it doesn't occur to them that there are Palestinian Christians. But it had never occurred to me that Mar Elias is one of several ways that hopefully that minority retains some of its young people to stay and to engage and invest, whether they become teachers or staff members or otherwise. So I'm always grateful for what I learn every time I get a chance to talk with you all. And Abuna, I know it's not a one-man show, but right before I make one or two final remarks, do you want to finish up any comments that come from the folks at Mar Elias?
I want only to encourage you never to lose hope. We are here. We decide to survive and to continue spreading the good news that God does not kill and God loves every human being as he is, with his faith, with his creed, with his personality.
And I am grateful for that reminder not to lose hope, and especially to hear it from you and to know that you live that call to remain hopeful in the midst of incredibly difficult circumstances. I mean, we talk about Palestinian Christians being the living stones who provide their own witness. And all of you are part of that witness to us in this country to be hopeful about your region and hopeful about the world that we think God is not done with yet. I want to thank folks who've joined us on the webinar. Please tell friends and family about this opportunity to learn more about life on the ground, especially for our siblings at Mar Elias. And don't forget that opportunity to have your gifts matched if you give between now and the end of the year to be a part of that continued support. If you're a traveler, we've got that pilgrimage in April. And if you've never joined our mailing list, I know giving your information right now to Esrea will get you on that mailing list so you can hear about other webinars and other opportunities. And with that said, Esrea, anything from you to close us out before we say goodbye to everybody?
We wish that April was too soon.
I know, yeah.
And I want just to thank Esria for what she does, for her faith and continuous fidelity to promote Pilgrims of Ibilene and to help us not only financially, but with her friendship, that I value supremely.
Yeah.
Well, it's most mutual, and it's quite an honor to be able to support the incredible work that Abuna, you, Nawar, Emil, Victor, and so many others are doing. Really, you're an example for the rest of us, and Thank you so much, actually, for that you do and all that you contribute to the world. And I really just invite everyone who's with us to consider joining us in April. We're going to visit the school. We'll see all of these beautiful people in person, and Abuna has made an incredibly generous offer to travel with us to see the holy sites in the Galilee. And this is a very unique opportunity. So I hope you'll consider to join us. Thank you. And I put the link to the webpage to get more information about the pilgrimage, as well as where you can make a contribution if you feel so moved.
It's too early now, but I cannot forget to wish all of you a very happy Christmas.
Oh, thank you. It's not that early because we've been seeing Christmas decorations in our stores for about a month. So
I hope you will not forget to include Jesus Christ in the decoration.
yeah, well, I haven't seen that in the stores yet, but well, thank you to everyone, and most especially thank you to our guests who joined us by Zoom from Israel.